The sun warmed the quiet hills of Rosewood Estate, where spring air carried the scent of roses and fresh grass. From the pale blue manor's windows, a fairy tale wedding seemed to be unfolding, or so it appeared. Isla Munro had always believed in love, the kind of love that grew deeper with time, that chose peace over pride. So, when Daniel Carter, the man of her dreams, proposed to her under the wisteria arch in her grandmother's garden, she said yes without hesitation. Daniel was kind, driven, and gentle-hearted, the sort of man you marry and thank the stars for every day. But standing between Isla and her happiness was one formidable force: Margaret Carter, Daniel's mother. Margaret was not merely controlling, she was calculating. A master of appearances, she wore silk gloves and pearls like armor and greeted you with a smile that never reached her eyes. To Isla, she made it clear from the start no one was ever going to be good enough for her only son. Isla tried to be kind. She sent flowers, called regularly, invited her to dress fittings and tastings. But behind Isla's back, Margaret unraveled everything. She called vendors pretending to be Isla, canceling the original caterer Isla had fallen in love with, one that specialized in Mediterranean-style grazing tables and delicate champagne-infused desserts. She told the bridal boutique that Isla had changed her mind, switching out the custom hand-beaded gown for something plainer, less memorable. She even went so far as to pressure Daniel, telling him that Isla was only marrying him for his money, that buying her a house before marriage would make him look like a fool. But Daniel knew better. He had seen Isla's loyalty, her patience through Margaret's subtle cruelties. So instead of doubt, her manipulations only strengthened his resolve. And when he presented Isla with a stunning modern cottage on the cliffs of Evermere Bay, white stone, glass walls, and a view of the sea that caught your breath, he watched her cry tears of joy, not expectation. Still, Margaret didn't stop. What she didn't know was that Isla had started to document everything: every canceled booking, every odd email reply, every discrepancy. She set up passwords and private accounts for vendors. She spoke with Daniel, and quietly, carefully, they formed a plan. The day of the wedding arrived. It was held in the historic Glasswood Hall, with stained glass windows that poured color into the marble-floored ballroom. Light flickered like gemstones across the chairs and floral archway, and classical strings played as guests found their seats. Then Margaret arrived, in a full-length white gown with lace sleeves and a crystal tiara. Gasps echoed. Isla turned, as did Daniel. The room went still. "Margaret," Daniel's voice was cold for the first time, "you know this is inappropriate." "I simply wanted to feel included," she said, her voice soft with false innocence. Isla walked to the center of the room, lifting her mic calmly. She looked every inch the goddess bride in her restored gown, the original one Margaret had tried to replace. She smiled gently. "Before we begin," Isla said to the guests, "I'd like to thank someone special. Margaret, my future mother-in-law, has been very involved in our wedding planning." There were a few polite chuckles. "So involved," she continued, voice like silk, "that she canceled our original caterer, changed my dress order, and even tried to cancel the ceremony venue itself. But thankfully, we had everything secured under private contracts and passwords, because I knew better." Margaret froze, her pale face now drained of its regal smugness. "We wanted to wait until today to share a little something with all of you. On every contract, we included security cameras and voice logs. Everything is recorded." Gasps spread across the room. "But," Isla smiled, "today isn't about revenge. It's about truth. It's about marrying the love of my life, Daniel, who stood by me through all of this, and honoring our peace." Margaret tried to speak, but Daniel stepped forward, his arm protectively around Isla. If you can't respect my wife, he said plainly, you no longer have a place in our lives. Silence. Then applause. Isla turned back to the altar. The ceremony began. The day unfolded beautifully. Rose petals lined the aisle, and the vows were raw, heartfelt. The reception bloomed with laughter, dancing under string lights, and the sound of glasses clinking with joy. Margaret left quietly before dinner was served, her white gown now a symbol not of elegance, but of loss of control, of pride, of the son she never truly knew. And as the night melted into stars and the first dance began, Isla looked into Daniel's eyes and smiled, not because she had won, but because she had finally been seen. Love had prevailed, and with it, dignity, truth, and the quiet revenge of letting someone fall on the sword they sharpened themselves.